Hey, this is Steve with Interglobal Comics again. I just wanted to make a quick video talking about CGC, foreign comics, how they label them, and show off a few that I got back recently from CGC. First, I just wanted to show you how CGC used to label foreign comics. This is the label. This is SpiderMan 129, the second time they printed it in Mexico. The label tells you nothing. It just tells you the title, the number, the date. Marvel Comics wasn't even the publisher. It was published by Novedades. So it was just kind of inaccurate. It was almost kind of pointless, and they didn't really tell you anything. So this is why a lot of people use CBCS. They actually had a foreign comic expert there that was, putting in very, informative labels, pretty much everything that's going on inside the book on the cover. So CBCS was kind of like the go-to for a long time for foreign comics. Some people like CBCS, some don't. I have a couple of their slabs. I'm not really a big fan. They just kind of feel flimsy, but I think they're the old style. I've heard the newer ones are better. But this is the old style label for CGC for foreigns. So let's take a look real quick. All right, so here we have Spider-Man #1 from Germany. So you can look at the label. There's way more going on here. It's published by Williams Verlag in 1974. They tell you the actual publisher. It doesn't just say Marvel Comics. It's Williams Verlag, and it tells you the number in Germany, which is Dice Spiny, or the title, and the number 3. So it says, pretty much gives you the foreign information, what it relates to in the American market, and then actually does say, it's the first appearance of, the people in this comic. This one also says that it contains stories 1 and 2. So I guess my question is, if it's the first appearance of J. Jonah Jameson and the Chameleon, if it contains number 2, why doesn't it also say first appearance of the Vulture? I'm not really sure. I think CGC is working on their foreign market. They they've made some good moves, but they still have got a ways to go. Some people hate these new labels. Some people like them. I like them because I don't consider these reprints, and that's what a lot of people that don't collect foreigns, they just consider these reprints in a different language. I don't think so. I consider it the first time this Spider-Man was printed in Germany, so therefore it should have the designation as the first appearance. I realized that some German collectors did collect American comics, but this was printed in Germany, so therefore it was the first print for them in Germany. It's a great looking book, 770 white pages. I was happy with that. I love the colors on it. Definitely has a different look to it. So let's see what we have next. All right, so we've got a Fantastic Four #1 from 1974. So this one is one I wish CGC would denote on the label. It says origin first appearance of Fantastic Four, which is great. But right here, this says new Der Damon, which means Daredevil. This also contains Daredevil 1. So this is a double key. It has, part of the story of Fantastic Four #1, has the cover, and also contains Daredevil #1. So, and that's something that CGC needs to work on. They need to, include more of the interior stories. But I've noticed that they are working on it because the labels have been kind of getting better in the last year or so. So here we have Hulk 1. This one actually, so you see right there, it says, X Team. This contains part, I believe, of X-Men 1, and then Hulk 2 also contains part of X-Men 1. So that would be nice if they would denote that on the label. But great looking book, cool colors, Hulk's green. They made some interesting color choices on these books that I think that's one of my favorite parts about foreign comics is just, the changes they made, the variation. So this was a X-Men 1 from Mexico that was actually a coverless, and with the help of a comic collector in Mexico, Rulo, he actually helped get me scans of his personal copy of X-Men 1 and interior scans of the front and back cover, interior covers, and I was able to make like a facsimile cover. So this book has some sentimental value because Rulo actually passed away last year. So it was very helpful for him, to or helpful for him to get those scans, because otherwise, I just have a coverless copy, which is fine, but I like looking at that cover. It's a beautiful cover. So this is an Avengers 1. This one came back restored, which I knew was probably going to be the case. It had, it looked like it had been pulled from a bind. So it had glue on the spine, I think, and the thread or staples had been replaced with thread. But it's still a very difficult book to find, so I'm happy with it. This was actually, this Avengers 1 was actually in the SpiderMan title. So this is SpiderMan number 38. It says SpiderMan 38 presents the Avengers. So that's kind of cool. Different style than what we had in America. And eventually, the Avengers did get their own title in Mexico. And that one, actually, their number 1 issue is actually the Avengers 4 cover. So it's a pretty great book to start out on as well. So here we have the German Avengers 1. Some interesting color choices on this one. Loki's purple and yellow, Iron Man's silver, Ant-Man is brown. But just a good looking book. I wish I would have, these I used to get pretty inexpensive, probably around $30 shipped from Germany. So I didn't really worry about upgrading. I just figured, these are common and they're cheap. And then I realized pretty quickly that wasn't the case. They dried up pretty fast, and now you wouldn't be able to probably sniff a low grade copy for less than $100, or right around there. So I should have upgraded when the books were cheaper, but I never did. So I'm happy with this for now, though. Here we have the Italian Amazing Fantasy 15. So this is kind of a controversial book because this does not contain the interior story of Amazing Fantasy 15. It's just the cover, but CGC on the label does say contains Amazing Spider-Man 22 story. But I guess it's a big book to share a label with. So some collectors don't really like that it's got that Amazing Fantasy 15 label. I think it's a beautiful book. I like the logo, the yellow. This one came back restored, which I wasn't expecting. I think it has maybe a little bit of glue on the edges of the spine. So something that probably could be removed. I didn't really plan on cracking it or anything. I'll probably just keep it as is. I thought maybe I'd buy another copy, but I just looked on eBay Italy, and it looks like someone just in the last couple of days went and bought all the nice copies, because those are all sold. And there's only a couple on there, but one sold for I think close to $500, and the other one was over $300. So someone's banking on probably these books rising in value. Here we have a real hard to find book, Marvel Spotlight 5, from Finland. This was really difficult to find. I was able to find 2 copies over the last 4 years, both very low grade. I ended up selling one to Matt Roybal. He needed it for his set, and I kept this one. And for $3.5, I haven't seen any other higher than that. Not saying this is going to be the highest graded, but these are just tough to find books. So the one weird thing about this is it's the only one on the census. So they labeled this Origin First Appearance of Ghost Rider, which was strange because this doesn't contain the interior story of Marvel Spotlight 5. So typically, if that's the case, they don't give it that label. So I don't know if they made a mistake on that or what. But either way, it's a great looking book from Finland. All right, Detective Comics 359 from Italy. Beautiful red cover. The Italian books are always high quality, nice looking books. The paper's real thick. 6.5 white pages. I was happy with that. And this book is actually really wide and short. So I wasn't sure if it needed to be in a magazine slab or a comic slab. So now I know it fits in a comic slab. So if you're going to get one and get it graded, you just submit it as a comic, not a magazine. Here we have Action Comics 242 from Italy. So this one's from 1958. So this is kind of a funny story because I had been looking for this book for years, and I was finishing up a deal with an Italian seller, and she was like, well, all right, I'm ready to ship, but I have this one other book. Do you want it? And I was like, oh, yeah, let me see it. And it was this book, and I was like, yeah, definitely, I'll take it. How much? I'm thinking she's going to say, maybe if I was lucky, 50, 100, 150. And she said $10. And I was like, okay, yeah, definitely, I'll take it. So for $10, I got Action Comics 242 from Italy. Real tough to find. I've seen a couple sell on eBay, on American eBay for upwards of $200. So it's kind of a fun book. I don't know why they kind of made the cover green, just the same color green as Brainiac. So it's kind of funny looking. But it's, like I said, variation is what makes the foreign comics fun. So here we have Spider-Man 129 from Canada. It's a French Canadian. So you gotta think about how many people in Canada make up the French Canadian population. It's pretty small. So in the 70s, this probably had a very small print run. The print run in Canada would be small already, and then factor in that it's the French Canadian only. It's a tiny fraction of the population. These are pretty tough to find. I bought this from a collector. He was getting out of comics, and I paid $100 for it. I was happy to pay it. I've seen them sell recently for closer to $400 or $500. And this one, is lower grade, but I'm happy with it. And CGC actually does denote on here that it's the first appearance of the Punisher, and it contains story of ASM 129 and a backup Western story of Two Gun Kid 51. So that's, one thing that's common with foreign comics is that you're going to get more than just one comic inside. Typically, it's going to be minimum 2 stories. Some are real thick and they have multiple stories going on in them. But it's a great looking book. Different coloring. It's not bright yellow. It's a very subdued hue. Some people call it pink. I think it looks kind of like yellow, but it's a good looking book. It has a lot going on it. Here we have Batman 181 from Brazil, 1968. I was happy with this grade. 6.0 for Brazilian book is high grade. You can see the rusty staples. Has some kind of discoloration down on the bottom, but this is probably one of the first Brazilian books I got. I was buying, hadn't gotten too many Brazilian books and put an order in and included this. I think I paid $80 for it at the time, and now it's, I guess, very hard to find in Brazil, very sought after. There's a few different Brazilian sellers that are trying to find these books for Americans or for foreign comic collectors, and they're saying that it's getting harder and harder every day, that these books have definitely dried up, and now they're having to pay way more money to get the same books. All right, and finally, you got Amazing Spider-Man 101 from La Prensa. It's a Mexican publisher. For whatever reason, this is, I guess, a very difficult book to find. I actually bought this from a guy in Puerto Rico. But yeah, I've heard from several people that source books that this just doesn't ever come up for sale. It's difficult to find. So I was happy to add this to the collection. I have this one and the Colombian, which I think are probably 2 of the hardest ones to get for this cover set. So I'm not a huge Morbius fan, but it's just a fun book, and I figure if I ever meet someone that's trying to build this set, I might as well, I've got the 2 hardest ones to find, so I can use that as leverage to try and trade for something, that they might have, or potentially even sell it, down the road. Right now I have no plans on selling any of my slabs, unless I have duplicates. They're just, these are kind of like the favorites of my collection, so these are just all personal copies. I think that's it for my latest submission. I'll maybe show off some other ones that I've gotten in the past, and I do have a submission coming actually today, hopefully, that maybe I'll make a video for. So one thing I wanted to show is why I think CGC has gone to this way of labeling foreign comics opposed to the old way. And so this is the census. When you type in Amazing Spider-Man 129, this is what pops up now. So rather than having to type in every single individual title, like the French Canadian title, the Mexican title, which is there's multiple different titles, trying to figure all that out is real difficult, and it involves a lot of searching. So the CGC has made it much easier by labeling these the way they're doing it, because all you have to do is type in Amazing Spider-Man 129, and you can see there's the American 1974 Marvel Comics right there, and then above it and around it are all the foreign editions. You can see all the dates, and so that way, if you want to search for, let me see how many different versions of Spider-Man 129 there are. All you do is type it in, and there you go. You can see the majority of them. I mean, obviously, there's more than just this, and this will increase as time goes on as more people slab their foreign comics. And I'm glad CGC changed their labels. I know, and some people don't agree with it. They don't like that the foreign comics are getting the same label or the same title as the American comics. So we'll see what they say whenever they do make their formal announcement of, why they chose to do it this way. But hopefully you found this video interesting. Have a great day. Bye.